Often I ask, where in the world is Albert Breer? And today the answer is Rochester, New York. I knew it this morning when I woke up because he tweeted about running along the Erie Canal. He is at St. John Fisher College, where the Bills and the Browns are going tete-a-tete in advance of their Thursday preseason game coming up. Hi there, Albert Breer.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, Eric.
What's happening, Bert? You out there making it rain once again?
Trying to. There's rain coming off my forehead. It is hot out here. I thought this was going to be the one break in my trip where it'd be like, 72 and mild. Not a chance. It's like mid-90s and humid here, too.
But it gives you an opportunity to wear the shorts, and I know how much you love that.
I do love the shorts, absolutely, in all different colors.
Fashion plate, so much so, I don't know, we're getting off on a tangent here.
That's
Albert wore the old NFL Network polo a couple of weeks ago.
Did you like that? That was my Throwback Thursday.
I thought it was cool.
That was pretty sweet, wasn't it?
I thought it was cool. I want to get to Tebow in a second. Let's, though, talk about what you're seeing today, and that is, judging by Twitter, Justin Gilbert did not have a flawless day. From what I could see on Twitter, Justin Gilbert is routinely getting torched. Is that right?
Yeah, the Browns' defensive backs didn't look good in general today. And Joe Hayden, the one thing we should say is that the All-Pro Joe Hayden was out. So that obviously affects it. But during one-on-one drills and even during team, you can see how talented the Bills are, even without Sammy Watkins out there for most of practice, even without Percy Harvin out there. It's a fast team, and it's hard to shake. I mean, I had somebody say to me, these teams are mirrors of each other because, both have the big questions at quarterback. I don't know if I put the Bills on the same level as the Browns. The Bills, to me, look like if they can get the quarterback position to even be average, they're so big and fast everywhere else that they've got a chance to be a really, really, really good team. So,
Albert, who's their quarterback? Right now, I mean, if they had to play a game tomorrow, who's Rex playing, you think?
I think it could be Matt Castle today. I think it could be Tyrod Taylor tomorrow, and I don't think it's E.J. Manuel ever.
So he's
that's the way I look at it.
We think E.J.'s done there. Is that what we're saying?
I think that this is down to two horses now. Now, Rex won't say that. And I talked to him about it after practice. He mentioned that E.J. started the blue and white scrimmage, and that was his turn in the rotation, and Castle started against the Panthers last week, and Tyrod will start this week. But I can tell you this. I mean, you guys, Andrew, you heard all the stuff in the spring about how bad Matt Castle looked, right? Well, he was coming back off that foot injury. I mean, he wasn't even really he wasn't close to full strength when he came back in April. Now he is, and he looks like he can run the offense efficiently. And so there's an appeal there for the Bills because it's like you're so good everywhere else. We don't need a superstar quarterback. And then you got Tyrod, who's kind of gotten a reputation around here being Rex's guy. Rex actually wanted to trade for him when he was still with the Jets. And for one reason or another, Rex has had an infatuation with this guy for a little while now. And so, I think it is down to those two guys, and EJ has fallen behind those two. And so my guess is Rex will probably want to name a starter before the third preseason game. I don't know if he'll be there yet next week to do it. I don't know if he'll be at the point where he's ready to do it next week, but I certainly think it's either going to be Matt or Tyrod, and they're obviously two very different options. It's going to kind of come down to which way you want to go.
Hey, Bert, what are you hearing about E.J. Manuel? Because I agree with what you're saying. I think it's a two-man race there. But you're talking about a former 16th pick of the draft that could possibly not make the team. What are you hearing about, just his future, with the team, period?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to keep three quarterbacks in this day and age in the NFL, right? The flip side of that is he's still guaranteed some money. And so, they basically have to cut a check if they're going to get rid of him. The biggest problem here is he's up and down, and he doesn't see the game fast enough. And it's Eric, I don't know how many guys like this you played with, but he's one of those guys where, you talk to enough people, he's one of those guys who has everything you want, but just for one reason or another has never been able to put it all together. He's smart. He's a leader. He's got a big arm. He's athletic. Everything that you'd want's there. But for one reason or another, and Jake Locker might be another one that's like this, but for one reason or another, he's just never been able to put all those pieces together. And, 2 years later, you'd be looking for him to do that, and he still hasn't.
It's funny because, Albert, I remember sitting with E.J. Manuel at the rookie symposium a couple of years ago outside Cleveland. And I walked away from that interview saying, wow, how about that kid? That kid has not electricity, but he has it. Like, you walk away saying, well, you know what, this guy gets it. And then when he gets out there, he doesn't get it. Albert, I want to switch back to the Eagles if we could here because we only have so much time. I know you were there yesterday in Philly. You and I were texting because I took some grief on Twitter. I can't believe that it was truly that loud in the third quarter of a preseason game that Tim Tebow had to quiet the crowd. Was it really that loud?
Well, it was loud, and the funny thing about it is the stadium was half full. So those people needed to be really loud to make it sound like that. Andrew, we've been over this. I can't think of anything like this. I mean, it's just his appeal for one reason or another, and it's not what it was 3 years ago, but it doesn't die, and it's always a topic of conversation. And I'd say this. I mean, normally the last half of preseason games are sleep-inducing, and they're played by a bunch of guys who won't play in the league. And he brought a different dynamic to it, and it was fun and interesting. And at the end of the day, I still don't think he makes the team, but, he certainly brought a certain interest level to it. You could see the way that the crowd reacted. He still gets that from people. For one reason or another, he can still draw that reaction.
But we agree he'd have to be the fourth quarterback, right? You just said teams don't like to keep three. He'd have to be the fourth.
I think the biggest problem for him now is that Matt Barkley played really well yesterday, So if you're looking at it on balance and you're assuming that Bradford and Sanchez are healthy and on the team in week one, and you're planning on keeping a third quarterback, Barkley's played better. Now, is there a chance that Barkley gets traded?
Sure.
Somebody sees what they liked the last couple of days and says, you know what, maybe we should take a flyer on this. And that's possible, and maybe that opens up a spot for Tebow. But I thought he was improved. I think the problem is he's just still got a long ways to go, and the delivery looked tighter, but it still feels like he sees it too slowly. He just doesn't go through his progressions quick enough. It's just everything feels a little slow, and so I think a lot of this is going to boil down to what the Eagles roster looks like at the end of August, and whether or not Matt Barkley's there, and if Barkley's traded away, but by the end of the month, does Chip think Tebow's worth keeping as a project? Versus maybe keeping a fifth linebacker or whatever it is instead. And
they've had linebacker health issues there as well. Do we get any impression, Albert, as to whether or not Chip does like him? Whether or not Chip just wanted to kick the tires on the guy, or whether or not there's truly some fascination with the guy, I think it was a little bit of a I think there was that with Belichick the same way there is with Chip, where they're just like, well, let me take a stab at this. This is an interesting quarterback. We haven't seen somebody who's looked this way at that position before. Let's see if I can make it work. I think what the problem that these coaches run into is that he just doesn't see it fast enough. And just if you're going to run a pro style passing game, it's going to be hard to do with him there. And so I think Chip runs into the same problem that Bill did. At the end of the day, and I've talked to Chip about this, what Chip does from a passing game standpoint, it's not like a simple college spread offense. It's a pretty complex passing game that he runs, and that's why he considered Sam Bradford such a good fit for it. That he had the background not only in the spread at Oklahoma, but also in the West Coast offense under Pat Shurmur in St. Louis, and you just look at Tebow, and it's like, can he run a West Coast passing system? I think the problem is that he really can't. Albert, we're out of time, but what's next for you? Where are you now? Next?
I'm in Detroit, then Indianapolis for Colts-Bears joint practices. Then I'm doing the Eagles game this weekend. So hopefully we get your old friend Sam Bradford's debut there.
Awesome. That would be great. And you'll be home sometime in February. Albert Breer from NFL Network. Today, it's Rochester. Thanks, Albert.
Yep. All right, thanks, guys.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.